Hello, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Final Word show. Tom, did I blow everyone's ears off with a cough there? Just yours. Amazing. Editing. Anyway, Chris is here and Jim Boardman's here. Welcome to the last show of Redmen TV Freeview Week. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, we say, if you enjoy what we do in these type of shows, you can watch them every single week on the redmentv.com. Anyway, let's get stuck straight into it before we inevitably round up and slam more of this shit in your face. But good shit. This is good shit. Good shit.
Good shit.
Good shit. Chris, 1 point gained or 2 points dropped after our 1-1 draw with the Manx?
Before the game, I would have been happy with the draw. I think I said that on the build-up show, didn't I? Mm-hmm. But after the way that the game was played out, I definitely feel it was more 2 points dropped, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, when anyone scores late on in a game against you and you've held the lead for that long, I don't think I can consider it any other way, really. Never really felt to me like they were going to make that breakthrough. And as such, because of that, it did feel like 2 points dropped. And look, Manchester United had chances, of course they did. But it felt like one of those days where we were going to stand up to it and come away with the 3 points.
I guess that's the slight difference. I was going to take you up on that, but I think for the second half, Jim, I think they largely pinned us back, and we had our moments on the break and what have you. That did feel like, to me anyway, that if it came, I wouldn't be overly surprised if it came because of how much they did have us pinned back. But that being said, exactly what Chris says there, the fact that the keeper made so many saves and the fact that the way the game went, I also felt like I think we might hang on. You didn't want to verbalise that at the time because it's so tense. Yeah. But I did feel like we would have come on top on that one.
I mean, I went into the game feeling really confident. I really felt unbelievably confident that we'd not come away there having lost. But then, as you say, you get through that second half and you start thinking, oh, the referee's giving weird decisions. They're going to get the run of the green out. There's going to be a stupid mistake one of our players makes. Yeah. Something's going to happen. They score one, they're going to score two and I think that's sort of drummed into you because you've been through that so many times in the past when they were quite a good team back in those days. And that's the thing when you sort of when you calm down afterwards, you look back and you think, you know what, we weren't really that bothered, were we? We knew what they were doing, and most of the time we kept them at bay. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had to kind of stretch ourselves to the limit. If your goalie's making saves, you're stretching yourself to the limit. But I don't know. I think we handled it pretty well. And my biggest disappointment really is we could have probably scored another ourselves, and I think we missed too many chances that we could have scored.
Absolutely agree with that. I think that was Jim's point there. I think you're absolutely spot on in that. This side weren't too. We were nervous watching it. We were in bits watching it, but it was the fact that the team, because exactly what Jim says there, when we goes to 1-1, it could be like, oh my God, this could be the capitulation. But the team went, you know what? Go ahead. We'll see if we'll go again. We'll see if we can win this, which is amazing.
Yeah, we did. And look, there was some good performances there, and one of those for me, second half, was the way that Wijnaldum broke forward to have that opportunity. You know, he could have scored 2 goals by the end of the game, and you know, we were talking about it upstairs before. I don't really blame him for taking the header on. I know Klopp was on the sidelines banging his chest, but when you score a headed goal like he did against Manchester City and you've missed loads of shots with your feet, like he's missed all season
Maybe I'm good with my head.
I kind of been like, you know what, confidence. If you're feeling confident going for a header, go for it. I'd always say that. If you're feeling confident, do it the way that you feel confident. Yeah. And
this is not Joe Cole. He scored that wonder goal for England, didn't he, from like 35 yards, and then every single time he picked the ball up from then on, felt that he could score that to go. Yeah, no, I agree. That being said, I mean, the Wijnaldum stuff, he should win us. He should win us the game. You know, I think you can and this has been my chief criticism of all season, that if he didn't get into those positions, I would have no problem with Wijnaldum whatsoever, even though he would be performing at a lower level because he's not actually offering us an attacking threat. But it genuinely drives me fucking potty.
If he was playing the Lucas role, and he scored as prolifically as Lucas, you wouldn't be too bothered, would you? Yeah. But as you say, he's playing like, I don't know, he's playing where you'd expect Gerrard or someone to be playing in days gone by, and they never got into those positions and really let them go slip by, did they? So, and he came to us. There were a lot of people questioning his ability in front of goal, but you think, well, if he's only a midfielder, it's not necessarily his main job, is it, to score? But then when you see situations like that, it's frustrating because that could have been the winner.
Yeah, I know, and it's there's probably 3 opportunities he has to win that game, Chris. I mean, the header one's hard because given that he chooses to take the header on, which is a fucking ludicrous decision, really. But you know, he has a couple of chances where the ball drops to him, and you're never confident that he's gonna stick them away, and that's. And what I said to you is he is the best example of where Liverpool are right now. And if Liverpool don't go on and win the league, it's not Gini Wijnaldum's fault. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's a limit to the quality of player that we've had available to us. And I said to you, if we get Champions League football next season, that's a Champions League quality player you can go out and buy and put in that position who's more adept. Not buying players off relegated Premier League teams, with the greatest respect to Newcastle and Wijnaldum.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think you're right. We spoke about it again before, and you cherry pick the best players from sides, and you know where Liverpool have been over the last few years is you're picking the best players from teams who are below you in the league.
Yeah.
You know, and we hopefully will be in a position whereby we're picking best players from teams who are A, around us, or B, in different leagues, doing really well in Champions League football or Europa League or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a good point, Paul. And you know, Gini Wijnaldum, I think he's been a great signing. I think he's been terrific for us. I didn't think he was going to be a midfielder when he signed, and I'm really happy with his overall play, but there are those little things that let him down, and unfortunately it's the one thing that I thought we signed him for, and that is to get in the area and get goals. And you know, would we have got 3 points if Gini Wijnaldum scored that goal? I think we definitely would have. And you know, and as such, again, it goes back to this 2 points drop.
I think the one thing though is the encouraging thing though is that Klopp can actually get players to play better. He can get them to do the things they're not that good at. He can get them to do them quite well.
Yeah.
So he brings them in with like so many skills. They're so good at so many different things. But then he can add things through. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon because you know you're going to tempt fate when you do this. But have you seen how much better Mignolet is with his feet lately? He just seems to be a lot better than he was. We've not brought a new goalkeeping coach in. We've given him a bit of threat, and we've probably had Klopp and his team telling the goalkeeping coach what we want him to do to get better with his feet. You know,
Mignolet was absolutely outstanding.
Maybe Wijnaldum could go and have a bit of time with Mignolet. You know, they're getting better with their feet coaching. Don't know.
Yeah. No, let's talk about Mignolet because we're on the subject. Dejan Lovren got man of the match, but Mignolet was my man of the match. I thought. Anyone else?
Yeah, I gave him mine on player ratings. Yeah. I think I gave him a 9. I thought he was outstanding. You know, big saves that you're not accustomed to him making it in years gone by. And, you know, there was a question, apologies, someone on Twitter put this, but I think the question was, and I'm not sure I agree with it, but I'll ask the question anyway, is if Mignolet had been in goal all season, would we be top of the league?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sadly, there is genuinely, I know we do this a lot, but there's genuinely no one is there. No. I think what we should do is take heart from the fact that, and I said this last week, that we've seemed to have managed. We now have 2 decent goalkeepers, one who's in really, really good form in our first team, and be grateful for that rather than worry about what kind of might
they push each other on, don't they? You know, Sam Mignolet had a great start to the season, but without Karius coming in and taking his place, does he step it up? Because he stepped it up. Yeah. You know, from the start of the season, he was good. Yeah. Yesterday, he was great.
It's like saying, if you wanted to defend Karius, what would Liverpool be in a better position if Karius hadn't broken his hand in pre-season? Because he'd have had a full pre-season run, he'd have come into the season absolutely, you know, fully embedded, yada yada yada. We'll never know. I'm chuffed that he's good. And like I say, I genuinely thought exactly what we're saying there. It was a massive game of football. There was massive pressure on him. He's coming up against absolute top quality players, and you know, we've seen. I don't know whether it's a mental fragility or whatever, but just a fragility in a general sense as a goalkeeper. And Mignolet looked as good a goalkeeper as you could want in those circumstances.
What you want is a keeper who you don't feel panicked by, basically. You want your keeper to actually be the guy, the one with the level head, the guy that calms you down. Yeah. I mean, the guy you can rely on. On a good game, he'll not have much to do, but then he might just have the most important thing to do the whole game in a split second. And I just felt, in the past, I've worried when we've passed the ball around at the back. I've worried that Mignolet's going to make a blunder of some time. But I didn't feel that yesterday. Yeah. And I remember saying, should I really feel this, worried about Liverpool passing the ball around at the back? Because we were doing okay. Yeah. We were actually doing okay. And I'm worrying about it. But then we were fine.
And I also think the way they
and that's his confidence that more than anything. He's got his confidence back.
I think we'll come up against teams that put us under put him under more pressure, and we'll maybe see, how well he handles it. I don't think Man United did the most, didn't bust the gut to put the press on too high up, but I thought he handled it. And what annoys me is that I think the commentary and Gary Neville was trying to put a bit of heat on him when he did that one with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I just thought, again, we watched it with Sai, and he said, the ball goes out for our goal kick. It genuinely couldn't have gone any better. Now, I know you could argue it could loop back into his goal or whatever, but thought he, thought he saw the situation, dealt with it.
Lovren gives a pretty poor back pass at the end, to start that off, doesn't he? And Mignolet's quick off his line and puts his foot through it as best he can. Yeah. I mean, I said during the game, and I'm wrong at the time, I said, I think Neville wants him to come and claim that. You can't come and claim it, can you? Yeah. It's a back pass. Yeah. There's only one thing. You either slide in with your knees and it's a ricochet, or you go in heavy-footed, which is what he did, and ultimately he put enough on it.
The one that annoyed me as well, the only Neville that annoyed me was a ball came in, and I think it was a corner, wasn't it? And Mignolet punched it out to the touchline. Well, he was going through a crowd of lanky bodies.
Well, what was Neville saying? I missed that.
And it's like, he just said, should have caught that, should have caught that.
It's like, Gary went out by...
Can I just, Gary Neville and your fucking bullshit football analysis, go home, mate. Go home because you're pissed. Like, the way he talks about Liverpool goalkeepers is scandalous that he gets away with that. And I would have genuinely no problem. I'm always going to have a problem with Gary Neville, but I would have less of a problem with Gary Neville if he cut this bullshit pretense that he's putting aside his club rivalry somehow, and he's trying to rise above it and whatever. Just say, just be clear with it.
Yeah.
But it's just because it just seeps out of his pores, and like the criticism of the goalkeeper, Simon Mignolet coming out and punching that was an excellent piece of goalkeeping decision making. But it's exactly what he did. He got a good 40, 50 yards on his punch, puts it completely out of danger, made great decisions all day long. And Gary Neville's desperate for it because him and his little cronies are crying out for some controversy in this Liverpool side to talk about, because he sets the agenda. He sets the agenda for Sky. They've got that new programme, haven't you seen that they're advertising? All about him and his show, and how he goes, I want to prove this on the show this week. Basically, he wants to make Liverpool look like cunts, and unfortunately all he's doing is making himself look like cunts, because you know why? Because he is a cunt. Cunt. Carry on.
What was that about? What is he?
Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Cunt.
But the thing is that, I don't know, maybe it's a little sign of panic. I mean, I think some of the tweets I got afterwards, because I just literally tweeted Klopp's quotes, where he'd interrupted the Sky reporter and said, the Sky reporter was saying, when Man United started to come into the game more, and Klopp said, with long balls, and he was laughing as he said it. And I tweeted that, and the amount of Man United fans that have seen their arse over that quote, I mean, I just had non-stop tweets. And then Evertonians got involved for some reason, but I think, I started getting jip off at Everton, so I tweeted, you can tell Everton have had a big win. They're on here having a go about Liverpool having a draw, So then I've had even more abuse. And my Twitter's been fun overnight. But there's all of these people that are just like, they're getting so wound up, and it just makes me wonder, is it because Liverpool are getting so good? Yeah. Are they starting to get worried?
Genuinely,
I think so.
Like I say, I've seen a lad who runs a Man United website. I don't know if it's still a YouTube channel, but he did this tweet about Liverpool played more long balls than Man United. So he said something like, I read that Liverpool have played more long balls than Man United, and I was like, I hope that's just something that's just there in front of you. I hope you've not actively gone to seek that out, because they've taken umbrage with Klopp saying they play long balls, because if you're taking umbrage with Jurgen Klopp saying that you're playing long balls, you've not watched that match. And you've not watched, and I said it in my post-match stuff, they had Ibrahimovic up front, fine, he's a target man, and I think they did well at times not to use him more. I think it's credit to them in some respects that the players they've got do want to play a little bit of football. And I've got no issue with, using things as options. Why would you not use Zlatan's head? He's very, very good with his head. But to try and defend, I mean, again, you've brought Fellaini.
What was the start?
But it was that. But the point is that you've brought Fellaini on, and you know what you've brought Fellaini on for, so at least embrace it. At least go, that's how we're playing. Don't be fucking apologetic about it. Don't be like, don't pretend it didn't happen. It happened. Everyone who watched the game could see. Long ball up to Fellaini, looking to win it. He's very good at it. Fellaini's very good at that. Don't be ashamed that that's how you've played football, unless you're genuinely ashamed of it. In which case, speak to your manager. because that's his brand of
I
football.
think
Also,
that's
I'm not
they
being
can
funny.
accept it.
We've had like fucking 600 more passes than any other team in the league. Did they mention that we've had more short passes than Manchester United, that tweet? Because we have.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you that by a few hundred. You know, as a percentage, let's have a look at it and see. But ultimately, we've dominated games. We're the second most possessional side in the league after Manchester City. It was 58 and 57 before those games. Manchester United were nowhere near that. So fuck off, basically, Manchester United fans.
Yeah.
You know what? You did it. Yeah, as Paul says, embrace it. That's what Manchester United have become.
Let's
They've
not
become a
rewrite it.
side who throw Fellaini up front to go alongside Ibrahimovic.
And then throw
enjoy
stats at
it,
you
lads.
to try and make up
Honestly,
for it.
enjoy it.
That's what your money
That's
buys
what
you.
you've got for the next few years. You've
wins
got
it.
Jose Mourinho. Next, you'll be bringing in Huth and throwing him up front.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it goes.
Exactly. Enjoy. This is it.
He should be still playing because I think that could be his first coaching.
Oh no,
role,
honestly,
couldn't he?
wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me, Jim. Genuinely wouldn't surprise me.
Big heavy guy that wins set pieces and stuff. You know,
But
that you hoof it to.
But it's the barefacedness of it. It's like my mother-in-law does this a bit. If she's losing an argument and she can't win it, she'll change the argument to something she can win, and it's really subtle. It's politician-esque, and that's what Man United fans are doing online at the moment. It's like what they got. It's like Jurgen Klopp says they played long balls. Well, Liverpool play long balls. Yeah, I know. And he's not saying he doesn't play. He's not saying he's never played a fucking long ball. But the point is, in that game, stop. Look, just say, yeah, look, we did. Played loads of long balls. Why did we do it? Because we wanted to get the ball up the field and we wanted to cause panic amongst Liverpool's backline. Nothing wrong with that.
I had one.
It's a game plan.
They're sounding more and more like Evertonians at the minute. Last night I had one. I actually thought it was an Evertonian because his avatar had some kid in a blue Man United away kit, and I didn't really look at it. And his tweet was something about, but what about that time you brought Stephen Colker on? And he actually got a link to Stephen Colker's debut for Liverpool. And that's the kind of thing Everton fans usually do. They bring up some obscure, not really related facts that you've long since forgotten that's been doing their heads in for all that time.
I hope you just put the league table back out. Just tweeted in the league table.
I did actually tweet the top of the table, you know, the top five.
Yeah.
Bolton got sixth with long ball, lads, and you're getting sixth. Do you know what I mean?
There was a great, what was it? It was his old stand-up comedian, and hopefully his name will come back to me as I'm talking, but he used to say there's a great thing about how, again, it's how women never forget. And he says, my wife, and he said, once, we were watching telly, and I said, to tell you what, that Joanna Lumley's a lovely woman, isn't she, fellow? And then he said, and thought nothing of it. And then 6 months later, me dinner was a bit cold. When I cut to the table, I said, this is a bit cold, Deja. Why don't you get Joanna Lumley to warm it up for you? And that's exactly what's happening there. It's like, let's find examples of when Liverpool play long balls. Lads, look at your game.
They've got a Twitter list with them all there.
I love the way they've got to justify it, though. That's what I love.
No, exactly. It's like two wrongs making a right. We usually done it. We're not saying there's anything fucking wrong with it. We're just saying that it happened. It happened. And all I'm saying is that, again, I would just expect more. If I had that, if Liverpool...
How much have they spent?
Exactly. Listen, if Liverpool had Mkhitaryan, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, just them three. If we just had them three, forget Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Wayne Rooney and Mata and Paul Pogba, another fucking multi-million pound worth,
£300 million
mega stars of the world game that they've got, I would be upset to see, you know what I mean, if we, that we weren't using incredible talent that we've got, and instead we were opting for that. But like I say, it's not up to me to be upset because Liverpool don't really.
I remember a couple of years ago, Stoke had a game against us, one of the typical Stoke games under Pulis. And I remember tweeting something along the lines, or writing something along the lines of, if I was a Stoke fan by now, we've got ourselves settled. We're in this league now. We're not a threat of relegation. We've got a stranglehold here, nice mid-table team. I'd want to move on. I'd want to do something, and I'd want to stop all this long ball, over physical kind of Wimbledon style football, and that was Stoke. Me saying they should have better ambitions than that, and there's Manchester United fans trying to justify it today. No. It's
like I say, fucking listen, embrace it or don't embrace it, but it's not our fault. I was just going to say, Man United fans, it's not our fault that you played long balls in that game. It's not our fault.
It's Jose's. It's
Jose's fault. He could have chose a different brand of football, but you know what? Again, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Well, don't be ashamed. You did it and it could have worked. And if it worked, then bully for Jose. Bully for Jose Mourinho. But you know what? It didn't work. And you played two target men and you lumped balls forward to try and make something happen. It's a tactic. And look, it's a tactic. but embrace it. Embrace it or don't embrace it, but don't blame us. It's just
really though. These, you know, there's a lot of Manchester United fans over the last week that we've spoken to, we've seen comments on and stuff. Is they think Jose Mourinho's in it for the long haul. Now, Fellaini's just signed the contract extension.
Fellaini's in it for the long haul.
You've made your bed.
The long ball.
You've made your bed. This is what you're going to see from now. Do you know what I mean? This is it. This is Jose Mourinho. This is the manager who's won so much, has now reverted to type.
Yeah.
And you're going to see it firsthand for hopefully a long time.
Yeah, anyway.
Not the Man United I grew up with, Paul, that's all I'm saying.
Not the Man United
you knew he said he was going to play the long game with you. You just didn't quite know what he meant exactly by the long game. He missed the word out.
So, just getting back to it then, the referee I thought was absolutely horrendous. Like, I mean, the one that kicked it all off was Dejan Lovren. Wins it, and a very, very good, very committed, but very, very good tackle. Wins it well. Wins the ball, goes through, catches a little bit of the man, which for me, if that's going out, if that goes out for a throw-in, I think there's no issue with that, because it's in the middle of the pitch. The referee, for some reason, decides to pull it back. And I don't know whether Dejan got booked for the tackle or was booked for his response to it, but either way, the referee was, it set the tone for the rest of the match.
He had a right to be annoyed at the decision, whichever he got booked for, he shouldn't have been booked because the decision shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
I don't see the need for it. You know, if he's watching, I mean, not even like you needed a slow motion replay to see that the ball got moved before the player got touched. You know, and it's a referee. How long has he been refereeing now? I know he looks like a young kid. He looks like a substitute PE teacher or something, doesn't he? And he looks really out of his depth and he struggles at times. You can see.
Yeah, he's on PGCE.
He tries to be nice to some of them, so that some of them would be nice to him. You know, and it just backfires at all having him.
It did, yeah. He didn't get much right in.
I think it was the lack of consistency then. So you don't mind. Okay, if you're going to say that's bad, carry it on. I mean, what Rooney did in the second half. You know,
Milner.
Yeah, you know why did he? That was it was a foul, wasn't it? But he didn't. Did he give a card for it? I don't think he did.
I think he
so.
got booked for it. No, and the one again that winds me up, and it's not entirely Michael Oliver's fault because it's the way football's gone. But the Herrera Firmino one, he couldn't be more blatantly pulling his shirt. Now now for me, there's a difference between like that. It's shades of grey, I guess, but there's a difference between a little shirt or a little pull. You're taking a deliberate yellow card, and that borderline's on a professional foul for me because Firmino is like literally doing everything in his power to get away, and he's tethered, and he's not letting, and his shirt is stretched out here. I'm like, you couldn't be if he literally booted him up in the air. It's that he'd have got a red card for that because it would have been a clear
Although I don't know after the way Henderson got wrestled and slam dunked in the penalty area, and the other was it Pogba who did it?
Yeah, it was Pogba. Yeah.
And I've even seen Man United fans having a go about Pogba's the way he's approached that because you could cause a serious injury doing that. Grabbing someone by the neck.
Why is the linesman not seeing it? That's the other one. I mean, I can understand it. There's enough officials
the linesman
and the fourth official.
Well, the fourth official, the linesman, the whole refereeing team were absolute garbage in that game. But yeah, but just go back to the Firmino one. We were talking about this about Emre Can put that video, didn't he, of one of the Plymouth guys giving him a wet willy. And I'm sorry, but if someone does that to you, this is the problem with footy's gone, of course, because there's no context gets stripped away. Your referee only sees what he sees, the cameras only see what they see. Emre Can should be able to turn around and dig him in the arm, and it shouldn't matter, because that's just something you should do in response to those kind of things. Firmino, when someone's blowing his shit, and he's stopped an attack like that, Firmino turn around and push him off, the referee should go. He should be able to, if that happened in any other level of football, a referee would have enough common sense to go, you know what, you've got away lucky there, mate, because Firmino should turn around and fucking cave your head in, because what you've done there is so reprehensible that that's a human reaction to that kind of situation. I thought the whole refereeing was
well, I like the way that Liverpool reacted to it, because I know I've seen in the past at that place you got the referee being a bit of a tit, for want of a better word, and the referee and Liverpool react. And it's almost as if it's in the game plan of United, because that's what they do. They know they get the fans on the side, they get the referee on the side and the officials, and if you bite, if you fall for it, it gets worse and worse and worse. I'm thinking of the Mascherano game. That was that kind of game. I mean, I think a few of our players were just getting riled more and more and more. Yeah. And I don't think we did that yesterday. I think on the whole, we just let it go. You're
right. There was one with the exception maybe that if Dejan talked him into a yellow, someone should have gone over and just got, like Hendo should have just gone and put himself between Lover and the referee, really. And I remember the Mascherano one you're talking about was like Gerrard was the worst example of a captain on that day when just go over there and grab your man and drag him away, get him out of trouble.
Yeah.
But you've left him to get himself sent off there. No, I agree with that. You're dead right. And I actually, what I liked, we touched on it earlier, and you touched on a touch there, I guess. It's about our response. And again, when we went 1-1 and their crowd all got up. And I like the fact that, like everything, we didn't rise to the refereeing, we didn't rise to their crowd, we didn't crumble under the pressure of their crowd, we didn't crumble under the pressure of their long ball tactics. The fact that we were able to still carve our own little way in that game is a source of immense pride for me. Would have been much more, like Klopp kind of said afterwards, in a game when you do all those things and you put all that effort and exertion in, you want to come away with the 3 points off the back of it, but it's the way in which we conducted ourselves in itself should be something that we should take pride from. Yeah. Paul Pogba.
Oh, this has really annoyed me, to be perfectly honest with you.
Pogba.
Hashtag Pogba. Well, this is the thing, though. The whole hashtag Pogba thing, the fact that his hair was on the emojis and all that, this is where Manchester United as a football club have gone. Because this has been planned. And it's been planned for this fixture because this is the one where most eyes are on. 700 million people watching around the world, and Pogba's agreed to this. And you know what? If I was a 90 million, if I was a player in a football team, I wouldn't want the focus to be on me. Whereas that's what Paul Pogba wants, and he's agreed to this deal with Twitter or with whoever it is. And the entire football club that is Manchester United is now revolving around branding for Twitter and Paul Pogba on their biggest game of the season. Yeah. Because why? Because it might make them a little bit more money. Yeah. Not because it'll win them the game. It does nothing to win them the game. In fact, it worked the complete opposite. And he had a shocker of the game of football. All eyes were on him. He had to stand up mentally and physically to show the world that he is the most expensive player. And he's crumbled under the pressure. Yeah. Absolutely crumbled. But Manchester United, allowing that to happen on this game shows how far they've fallen. They're scrapping for every little bit of money instead of going out there and trying to get 3 points.
It's genuinely pathetic, isn't it? It's the perfect example. If you talk about against modern footy, that is the most the biggest perversion of modern football that we've got going there. This is the natural follow-on from Nicholas Bentner wearing Paddy Power undies, isn't it? It's like he's become brand Pogba, and this is a lad who needs to get his head down and just get better at playing football. And instead, as you say, he's got a coordinated social media campaign that ties into his haircut and a Twitter hashtag.
Why did his hair have a little bit of Liverpool's awake? I mean, it looked like it was a tribute to Liverpool's awake.
I think that was just our midfield just getting up in his face. I genuinely don't know. I thought it was. At first, I thought it was a bit of a joke. Like he's got his own hashtag. Like how cringeworthy is that for a start? I mean, just think about it. And you say it might not be cringe, it might be dead cool. Maybe it's just me. I would be really embarrassed by that. I'd love to have my own hashtag. I think that'd be cool in some regard. But to be walking around and it's there on the touchline while you're playing, and while people who've cost a fraction of what you cost. But lads who got relegated with Newcastle last season are walking past you at will. And you've got your fucking hashtag on the fucking sponsor boards next year with your stupid haircut and you're playing shit at football and you're dabbing and giving away fucking penalties. I just basically, you'd want the ground to open up and fucking swallow your hole, wouldn't you? Because that was Pogba in a nutshell that day. He was garbage, total waste of money, and he looked like a bad tit as well. So yeah, it's a shame because if nothing else, I thought Zlatan had his all-round performance. I thought was really good. I thought he led the line really well for Man United.
But that's what you kind of want from a player like that in your side, don't you? You want them to stand up and be counted. And Ibrahimovic, that's a goal that only Ibrahimovic can score on that pitch, I think. Yeah. When it's crossed in, I don't think I'm thinking he's going to bend down and head this over Mignolet's head. That's natural, that's instinctive. And then, all this with his arms and stuff, that's working for your team. Paul Pogba's not.
Yeah. No, I think, I don't know why, and I don't know, it just keeps running to my head, it's like, that stunt is something like Balotelli would have gone along with. Yeah. Balotelli would have been all right with that. Here's my image. Oh yeah, hashtag Balotelli. Look, or hashtag Mario or whatever. A big publicity campaign, but you've not got the ability to go with what you're trying to do. Exactly. And the thing is, if you have got the ability, you don't bother with hashtags anyway, do you? I can't imagine.
Well,
You don't need a hashtag on Twitter.
You know what I mean?
No, but
If the word's said enough, it'll trend.
I know,
Yeah.
but that all
You know what I
comes.
mean?
It was more. It's for the emoji, isn't it? Thing that all that shit. But I get it. Like it's a thing, isn't it? I get it. It's fine. But like Zlatan Ibrahimovic just got a load of that shite that goes with him. The guy's 30. What? He's 34, 35. He scored loads of goals. He's played at major tournaments. He's played at the biggest clubs in world football, and he's
Just player of the month last month as well. In fairness,
exactly. You know, and he's
not looking
his
age, unfortunately, either, is he?
But he's fucking done it though, hasn't he? You know, and we talked during the live stream. You know, he owns that. No one will ever be able to be called Zlatan and be a better person probably than, you know, be more successful in life than Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Fair play to him. He's owned his life. He's owned his name. All the stuff that goes with it. Pogba, he's still young, you know, and I get it. He was, you know, he's won titles in Serie A. He's done very, very good in Italian football, but he's got to prove himself. You know, he's got to come to the Premier League and actually, because he never proved himself the first time round. You know, he's got to come in here and have your hashtags when you've made it, mate. You know, with the moment, and I don't care. Put all the pressure in the world on him and watch him fail, because that I'd fucking giggle me tits off at that. I'll be perfectly honest.
Is he really that bad, or is he just?
No,
is he actually just trying to? Is it revenge? I was wondering if it was revenge. You know, because
maybe, like,
you know what I mean. He must be better than that. I mean, even
is he just
all the
trolling
joking
United
apart,
for
you know?
fucking him off in the first place? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. How can you be that bad when you've cost that much? You know,
He's
what I mean?
He's a
Liverpool
footballer,
fans talk
isn't he?
about
Yeah.
Daniel Sturridge, and you know there's a section of Liverpool fans that think he's self-indulgent and all about himself. But every time you've seen Daniel Sturridge do an interview, he always puts the team in front of himself, whether he scored or he doesn't score. And the people ask him questions like it's about the team and we won today and all that. Paul Pogba's just about Paul Pogba.
Yeah, exactly. He is, and I think the Mario Balotelli comparisons are spot on in that regard. Look, he's a much better footballer, and I think he will have a much better career. And you know, but there's something about Pogba. Look what he's been for the last 12 months. He did fuck all at the Euros. It was supposed to be his tournament. This was supposed to be his France '98, a la Zidane. You know, he was supposed to own that tournament, and he never. And then he's come in, he's been broken the transfer record. He's moved to Man United, and he's moved into this club. And again, we've seen bits and pieces of what he can do, but he's got so far to go. It's all well and good. And again, this is the Balotelli thing. It's amazing that you can stick a ball in from 40 yards and you can smash it in the top goal. One of those goals he scored a few weeks ago, I've never seen a ball struck like that. It's you know, to have the ability to do that, he's got it. But there's definitely there's another part of his game that's lacking, and I can't help but think that all of that becomes a distraction. There's a reason why the sequel to every sports film has always got your underdog who becomes really big and then goes off the rails when they get all the sponsorship and all that stuff. There's a reason that's a cliche in sports, and Pogba right now is in that part of his game, and he needs to fuck the hashtags off. He needs to get a fucking skinhead. He needs to get himself some decent boots.
Black.
Whatever,
black
you know,
boots.
pick a
Just
colour.
black boots,
Just
it's
pick
fine.
whatever, go white boots, go pink, whatever. Just settle on a colour, stick with them, get used to wearing them, and get used to being, and put some graft in and be a good footballer for a change. But
And don't take it personally when your teammates are actually just hoofing the ball over your head in a lot of games.
yeah, exactly. I know. But this is the thing. This is the thing, though. When you have all that stuff that goes around it, listen. Top quality sports professionals are of a different mindset, and they've probably got a mindset I'll never be able to fully understand. But knowing that shit exists and being so clued up to social media, there will be a point, and there's no way it doesn't enter his head. People are going to fucking ruin me for this if we don't win this game. Because we were sat here going, if we win this game, we're taking that we're owning that hashtag. Liverpool fans are going to take that hashtag and we're going to fucking run with it all night long. And that's got things like that. Footballers shouldn't have that shit on their mind. They should just be thinking about playing footy. And again, it's like I always say, it's those footballers who've got pre-planned celebrations. Djibril Cissé was terrible for it. You know, when you're waiting for a celebration, when you've already got your celebration in your head, you're thinking too much about what you're doing after you've scored.
When you've written your message on your vest or whatever, it's like, come on, how many weeks are we going to have to wear that if you don't score?
Yeah, look like John McClane by the time it comes out. Yeah, so anyway, I'd say good luck to Pogba, but I don't mean it. Michael Carrick, as far as Man United midfielders go, Chris, he was meant to be the cool, calm, collected one who was going to prove his quality, and he basically pooed his pants and came off at half-time.
Yeah, just didn't get involved in the game whatsoever. And, you know, Michael Carrick's actually a player that I kind of respect, and I think he's done it for a long time now and has been massively underrated. But he came up against the three-man midfield who owned him, quite frankly, and you know the game passed them by. And I don't think that Herrera or Pogba did him any favours in that regard either. I think as a three-man midfield, we were definitely the better there. And you know, again, we'd had lots of conversations with Man United fans prior to this game and stuff, and it was all about, you'll see on Sunday, Michael Carrick will own you. I'm sorry, Michael Carrick's not in the same class as some of our midfielders.
No, and
not
this
anymore.
Well, this is the thing, Jim. Exactly, it's that they've just sold Morgan Schneiderlin. They had Bastian Schweinsteiger who can't get a game. And I'm not saying either of these would necessarily deserve to be in the Man United team. You know, horses for courses in it. But Michael Carrick, this is the thing. He's 34 years old, is he? 34, 35. Again, you know, this is what happens. You know, you put guys with no legs in big games like that against teams like us that press. This is what happened to Steven Gerrard. You know, it's great having a great range of passing and being a cultured footballer. But where Liverpool became undone was you put him under pressure. And you saw that Adam Lallana closed him down. And I said this post-match, he got about a metre away from him and he panicked and he kicked the ball out for a throw-in. And this is meant to be the cultured superstar, you know, pulling all the strings in their midfield.
I mean, Paul Scholes played quite old, didn't he? He was quite old when he came back to play again. But I think Paul Scholes, and I hate saying this kind of thing, but he was a better player to start with. So for what he had to lose by age, he was still quite a decent player by then. And also they played a different way. Maybe I think don't think he's really been mentioned much today though. Is Lallana, Henderson coming back? Yeah. We everyone likes to slag Henderson off. He seems to get it all the time, and I think we underestimate how useful he is to us in our team and our midfield. I think what we want is we shouldn't really so much be hating on Henderson as thinking, can we get a better Henderson? You know, he's still a decent enough player, I think.
I love Jordan Henderson, mate. I think he's terrific.
But I do think, as you know, I think if we do well this season, we're in the Champions League next season. Must have shitloads of money ready to spend next summer. I think that's when Klopp will actually, if he's going to buy anyone, that's when it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that'll be
now get Champions League players.
Does he upgrade Henderson, or is Henderson good enough? And I suspect he's probably good enough. But what's interesting about the Carrick things, and I think the defensive midfield role in the Premier League, what's required of it changes every few years. And I think I get again exactly what you're saying, Chris, and what all the United fans are saying is like, look at what United won with Carrick anchoring that midfield, and it's indicative of what was required of that role at the time. And you went from your destroyer to having this, you know, your cultured defensive midfielder, your Xabi Alonso's, your Michael Carricks, who don't need to go in and put a foot in or do anything crunching, or they just play the quarterback role and they spray the passes around. I think this game showed the difference. What we had, we got a not fully fit Jordan Henderson who forced himself back into that team, you know, through the pain barrier or whatever. And what he brings, I think the defensive midfield role now needs to be dynamic. You need to be full of running, plus you need to have a good range of passing as well. And I think again, this just showed me because that Carrick, he's had his day, which should be obvious at that age. But to rely on someone like that in a game like that was folly.
That's it, and I think, you know, not only has he had his day, and I think you're right with the comparisons that you're saying about, you know, defensive midfielders changing. Even if Michael Carrick was in his pomp, I don't think he's the type of defensive midfielder that has success in this league anymore. Exactly. N'Golo Kante's the one who sort of redefined this role, and Jordan Henderson has that sort of touchline to touchline ability to be able to get from sideline to sideline, but he's got the passion of like a Michael Carrick as well, and a cool head and a calm head. And I don't think we saw Jordan Henderson at his best yesterday, but Jordan Henderson, even at that level, was a better option for me than Lucas Leiva that we saw at Southampton.
There's also like there's some of the parts and all that saying, you know, that there's Liverpool's three midfielders together, they work so well together. And then there's not just the three midfielders then, because the way that interlinks with the defence or the attack, and I think that's the big thing about Liverpool. The teamwork is is off the scale. Yeah. You just can see that everyone's got each other's backs. They know. With every game, they kind of get more and more telepathic, don't they, about where each other's going to run. Yeah. If anything that's made us stutter this last few games, it's because we feel like for a month, 2 months now, we seem to have had a player missing every week. There's always someone going missing. Like we've lost Mane now. There's always someone going missing. But as the season goes on, that maybe will help us because they'll all get to know each other, and whoever plays will know how to play us. But I think the teamwork shouldn't be underestimated. And did you see much really teamwork from Manchester United in the midfield yesterday? to me, they were kind of like three individuals, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. And it can't be underestimated that we changed that midfield slightly, didn't we? You know, we never played the same formation as we've been playing for the last, well, since the start of the season, to be fair. And I think Wijnaldum and Chan were slightly more tucked in, you know, so I think actually increased Jordan Henderson's role. I think he had to cover a little bit more, and Adam Lallana a little bit more of that 10 role. So that's encouraging from the first time that we've really gone to a diamond formation, to see that midfield dominate in the areas that it dominated.
Yeah, completely. And I actually think it led to some good stuff in the attacking sense as well. Firmino was able to start a bit more centrally. Origi was meant to start a bit more centrally. And I think it's telling that whilst neither had the decisive moment that won the game for us or whatever, I think that was the best both of them have actually played in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think the Roberto Firmino one for me, I think Divock Origi first half was really, really good. I think second half, because of the way that Manchester United were playing, and you know they did start to come into the game a lot more, he did fade for me. But Firmino, from an attacking sense, not what we've seen early on in the season when he's played that 9, but he's making the runs and ultimately he's setting the press, and that's what we needed. I think first half especially, you know, that Manchester United back 4 were really under the cosh. Whenever they had the ball, I felt like Liverpool were going to pick the pocket, and Firmino does that one where I think it comes off maybe Rojo and Phil Jones,
tries to pass it through to
Lallana or something. Yeah. And you know, that's born out of what Roberto Firmino's all about.
He got penalised for a couple as well. That again, it's just like Jimmy. Suarez was very good at that. He creeps up on people.
Yeah.
And looks to pick the pocket, and that a couple of times that it worked, and a couple of times he didn't quite get the run of it, like, you know, from the referee. Shocker.
Yeah.
But again, that's where Roberto Firmino is at his best for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I think this thing with Suarez, I always remember with Suarez that he'd go down injured, wouldn't he? And then he'd look like he could hardly walk, and then the defender would forget about him. And then next thing you know, he's bobbing down the wing and having a shot from like some weird angle and scoring. I think this is the thing with Firmino, his intelligence as well, isn't he? It's not just the skills and he's got the physicality, he's got the determination, but he's got the brain as well. You know, he can read the situation, and he can read where he's gonna get the chance to catch them out, basically, and he does it over and over. And I think that referee was just the way, to me, and I know I hate going on about referees, because like you've got to be better than the referee. If the referee's being a shit referee, there's lots of reasons you can concede goals, so you've just got to get on with it. But he seemed to be given the slightest sort of contact between us and one of their players, it was a foul to them. Whereas they could practically sort of stamp and up and down on us a few times, and we were, you know, play on. I think on another day, Firmino would have been, you know, he'd have got away with those, wouldn't he? Yeah. You know, the half-decent referee.
Yeah, well, yeah, there we go. We haven't talked about him, actually. Probably in his own little way, the little star of the game, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think all of us had probably a heart murmur, you know, when we saw he was going to be in the team instead of Nathaniel Klein. And I think he probably had one or two, and we all had one in the first like 10 minutes. They targeted him. He got nutmegged, and he got skinned a couple of times. And I'll say this: I don't think. I think I said this post-match. I didn't see that performance to go, great. He's our right back. He's our right back sorted. But I did look at it and go, 17 years old, in the hardest game of the season, in the most hostile atmosphere he's going to have to face, with all that pressure on, with these multi-million pounds worth of talent footballers targeting him, I think all the credit in the world goes to young Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he showed real character.
Yeah, you know what? That's a baptism of fire. If ever you're going to get one, full Premier League debut. I think he's 18 actually, isn't he? Not 17, but it doesn't. It's near as much anyway. Look, he's against Martial, who's a great footballer, who's going to be a star in world football. I think he did have a little bit of a wobble first 10 minutes. I think that's, you know, I've seen fullbacks have a wobble with Martial, who've been in the league for 10, 12 years. You know, that's what happens. Good wingers will go round fullbacks. Otherwise, you wouldn't get loads of goals from wingers and stuff, and they wouldn't make so many assists. It happens. What I liked about it is that he's clearly liked by the rest of the team. You know, I think we did change it slightly to be a little bit more supportive of him, sort of hold his hand through that performance. But as the game went on, barring that one error where he himself is pickpocketed, and you know there comes a chance from it, who actually he ends up saving it when it comes across the 6-yard box anyway. It was a really good performance from him, and you know, he looked comfortable on the ball. He stood up for a fair few tackles himself, won the ball. His positioning was pretty good after the first 20 minutes. Yeah. All in, that's a great performance from a young kid. And you know, as you say, you don't look at that and go, that's a 9 out of 10 performance. But because of the situation, because of the team that we're playing and the way that he's handled himself, it's a very, very, very good performance.
I mean, you got to think like the games he's played in the first team have been like League Cup matches or whatever. They've not, and the games he plays outside of the first team. Like, just think of the intensity between that game yesterday and what he's been playing.
Yeah, I said
it's
there was
going to
one
be a
where
shock to your system.
There's
isn't
one
it,
where
you know?
I think it's against Martial, and it looks like a 50-50, and he goes in full and tries to slide, and it gets flicked over him. And I said, under 23s, he probably wins that all day long, and that's a lesson for him. You know, is that. Yeah. The things that you get away with on the edge in under 23s, you need to be better if you want to succeed with them in the Premier League.
How good was that for him though? I mean, I think as you go through that game, you think, right, I've got to up my game, I've got to keep going. He didn't look out of place either. He looked, as the game went on, he was full of confidence. He wasn't, and like you say, the other players like him, he wasn't kind of like too frightened to kind of shout at a teammate or whatever, you know, to get back or whatever. He just looked, I don't know, he looked older. Yeah, the way he played like an older player in the end, didn't he? You know?
Yeah, no, completely.
Look, and you know the confidence that he had. He tried to take one on his left foot volley to try and score a goal. I mean, imagine if that had come off.
And then had the audacity to laugh about it afterwards. Like the guy, he was like Lallana on the edge going, mate, and he's like, Sons, come on. It's not to be inside the box at Old Trafford. I'm definitely off on a dig.
Hashtag Alexander Arnold. That would have been if he scored that one, wouldn't it? Like
Trent.
His dad
I think he can own the name.
No, his uncle works for Man United, doesn't he, or something?
Does he?
Saying he's the club secretary of Manchester United.
Is that what?
Is that why he was there? He showed him. Okay, yeah. That now makes sense.
He used to be the club secretary of Tottenham or something. So.
No, the other thing is, it's a very brave decision by Jurgen Klopp as well, isn't it? Because it would have been so easy to put James Milner in at right back and put Alberto Moreno.
That's what loads of people were saying, weren't they? Why didn't you just? But I don't know. Who would you feel more worried about, Moreno or Trent? And I bet there's a lot of people would be like, they wouldn't instantly say, "Oh, we should have gone for it with Moreno." You know, there's more experience. I bet there's a lot of people would have said that they're worried enough.
There's a lot of people who would have said that, Jim, and then instantly regretted saying it when it happened. Like fucking Brexit. No, you know, like the people who voted for Trump and went, "Oh, I didn't think that was gonna. I didn't think they were gonna do it." Just thought it'd be funny to say, right? Yeah, that's the.
I didn't know my vote counted.
I know. But again, there are things. There's not loads of things we could have done differently, but there are things. And again, this is the point. This is what Jurgen Klopp's philosophy with this football club. And I think there's been a couple of instances where it's not been quite that way, but I'm encouraged that he's gone. Well, no, he's my second choice right back. Mm-hmm. I know he's raw, but if you're good enough to be if you're good enough to be me League Cup right back beneath Nathaniel Clyne, I've not bought anyone else.
Then good enough to play sixth in the league.
Well, exactly. You're good enough to play sixth in the league. You know, I think that's good enough to play a Europa League quality side. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. He's already played. He's played against, you know, that level of opposition probably. You know, at some points. Yeah, it's fine. No, good on you. And what a vote of confidence for the young lad as well.
Look, his career will be all the better for that performance, you know, at Old Trafford.
Oh, encouragement for all the other young lads as well. You know, they're getting going in the FA Cup, but they don't need to think that might be the be-all and end-all of their appearances this season, because you don't know with injuries what's around the corner and suspensions. Any of those who played in the FA Cup could find themselves called up. No,
that's exactly it. Jim, I think you're dead right, because again, we're in a transfer window, and it says as well, whereas a lot of us are from the outside looking in going, buy someone now. And I'm not saying I don't think any of us are that arsed about the full-back position like we were maybe in the summer and what have you. But, you know, the window, we get to the end of January, we don't sign anyone. A few of us are going, God, we really should have bolstered something. But imagine you're the kids currently playing in the 23s. You'll be going, okay, he believes in me, he believes in us. I've got a chance of breaking myself into that team because he hasn't gone and bought someone else in my position. Mm-hmm. My position remains exactly the same, and I've seen Ovie Ejaria getting games, I've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold getting games, I've seen Ben Woodburn getting games. Why not me? Yeah. Why not me? Yeah.
We're nearly back to one game a week as well now, so we think with transfers, you sort of it's that Christmas period where you need your bigger squad, you need your like European size squad because you've got to.
We've still got 2 weeks to held, Jim.
Is it still 2 weeks?
Still 2 weeks.
Plymouth and Southampton again.
Yeah. David De Gea.
But after that.
I mean,
after that, we've got really tough run of fixtures, but go on.
After that, we've got 3 months of really, really tough games.
But daylight in between them all.
But then, whoa.
The last 6.
April. Oh, yeah. David De Gea is amazing. He's a fucking amazing goalkeeper.
He really is.
Like really, really, really good. And fair play to him. The only thing, if David De Gea hadn't been the other goalkeeper, I think you're like, Mignolet, wow. You're all over Mignolet. And I thought Mignolet, again, had a great performance. But David De Gea, any other goalkeeper, with the exception of probably Neuer, maybe, and maybe one or two others in world football, we do them really, really badly. We fuck them up big time. The amount of times that he cut through our press with like a low, flat ball, just straight through 2 banks of Liverpool players and 2 of Man United players on the flank. He's incredible.
He could play where Carrick played and do a better job. He's better with the ball at his feet.
Legs.
He was yesterday anyway, do you know what I mean? He's the best passer in their back 5 by a country mile.
Yeah, and when I was saying about when Mignolet calms you down, because he's playing better now and you feel calm. I mean, if he was in your goal, you'd be calm all the time, wouldn't you?
I mean, I've said a few times, I don't watch enough Bundesliga to know about Neuer. I think that he's the best goalkeeper in the world. He's the guy
you'd be splitting hairs.
He's the guy who I see and think, wow,
yeah.
Can there be anybody better than this guy? Because he's just been doing it for so long now and he's just so bloody good.
When people say who's the best boss out of Shankly and Pace, it's like, why argue? They were both really, really good bosses. Like, doesn't matter who was the better out of them. Just enjoy the fact you had both of them. Well, with goalkeeping, I think when you get that good, there's not that many who are that good. Like, I've been asked a few times who would I have out the Man United side for the last couple of seasons, and it's always him. Yeah. If there's one player you could take off them,
he's still their best player. You know, for all the money that they've spent, he's still their best player.
You shouldn't ever underestimate the importance of a goalkeeper. I think when Manchester United was successful, and they were always going on about Cantona being the main man and stuff, I think Schmeichel was the man who practically won them the league.
There's something to be said for it's a platform, isn't it, for being able to play attacking football, because you're gonna let things slip at the back periodically, and having a guy who can bail you out the shit, or you can trust to bail out the shit, and actually does more often than not bail you out the shit, should never be underestimated. And again, they're going to enter a wilderness soon again, where he's going to move on, because he's going to have to move on, because if they're not challenging for stuff at the top end of the league, given how close he was to Real Madrid a couple of years ago, you can't see him staying at Man United, and then they're going to have to face that position where we've had more often than not in the last 30 years is
crap goalies.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to that day. Great to see Phil Coutinho back again, Jim. Shame that he couldn't start, but Chris and I were discussing it prior to the game. If this means that we've managed Coutinho properly, and we now got a fully fit Coutinho back for the remainder of the season, then fair play.
I mean, I think too many times in the past I've seen Liverpool rush players back too soon. I think that was half of the problem with Sturridge at times. I think Sturridge wouldn't have been out as long as he was if we'd have just said, no, make sure you're properly back to where you should be. I think we've rushed him back too often. We've done that with other players. We've done it, going back to when Michael Owen was a young lad. We seem to have done it, over and over again. I would much rather us do without him for a couple of games more and get him back right. And I think the intensity of that game, if he'd have started that game, the way they were playing as well, he'd have been a target, wouldn't he? He'd have had, he did get a knock, which was worrying, and I couldn't tell. Was it a bit of was he just doing that to get the referee a bit of sympathy? Wouldn't it waste a bit of time, or was he actually really hurt?
I hope that, because that's a sign of maturity, if nothing else, if he's playing the game.
But to me, when he comes on, he's just that kind of player that when you're in that kind of a game as well, that if he gets the ball, give him a couple of seconds and he'll get you a winning ball, won't he? I know it didn't quite work out yesterday, but there's no panicking. To me, when he's involved, the panic levels down. He
played that. He had that moment, and he just give him the ball and his close control and his ability to just dig himself out of trouble, and because he creates that moment when he does the reverse ball to Firmino, and on another day, Roberto Firmino slots that, and
he's definitely grown as a footballer, hasn't he? This season he's been playing at a world-class level for us. He's been our flat-track bully this season. I'm glad that we've got him back, to be perfectly honest with you, because I think that's what we've missed. We're obviously missing Mane at the minute, but missing, Joel Matip, Phil Coutinho, Sadio Mane in a game at Old Trafford, away from home, where you're missing one of the best right-backs in the league as well, in Nathaniel Klein. To have him come on was that little impetus that I think we needed to try and steal up for the last few minutes. Unfortunately, we ended up conceding the goal and stuff, but it's that ability now to always seem to pick either the right pass or the right time to shoot. I was, for all the life of me, I thought he was going to cut inside and shoot. Really did, and he cuts inside, and he's got every Manchester United player thinking he's going to cut inside and shoot, and he pulls this reverse ball off to Firmino, and not the best shot by Roberto Firmino. It was probably pretty central in De Gea's goal, makes it quite easy for him, but it's that type of ability to unlock defences that we've missed. So him coming back now, he could be the difference for us.
He's one of the older lads as well now when you think about it. He's kind of one of the experienced boys of the team now, and he's kind of, I think a lot of the other players kind of look up to him, which is a bit strange because he's not very tall, is he? But I think they do. I think they look to him as a kind of bit of a leader, in the way he plays as well. Not so much leading by example more than leading by, I'm getting in the referee's face or whatever. So I think it gives the players a boost to see him. And I think the Sky impartial commentary team was saying how strange it was that they were taking Origi off for Coutinho. To me, that was what I was actually thinking. That's the change you've got to make.
I think we were talking about this because I saw a criticism as well, saying like Klopp wants shooting because he should have made substitutions to bring more energy into the game. And I was thinking, the game's so finely poised. Who are you taking off? You could take off Wijnaldum, but for whom? Because we don't really have anyone else who plays in that position. You could take off Firmino and maybe bring on Sturridge, but is Daniel Sturridge going to give you the intensity that you want in the last 10 minutes of that game? I
saw a comment on one of our YouTube videos said, Klopp's fucked up there. He should have brought Lallana off and Sturridge on in the 88th minute. Yeah, that was a genuine YouTube comment.
People,
I think worse. I thought my Twitter feed was bad.
I'll give you an insight into something that gets me through life, and it's about people and their opinions. Is that there are people on earth who think the Beatles are shit. I'm just saying. So whenever I think...
Thanks, Paul.
Well, exactly. Whenever I think that people's opinions are utterly baffling, I just have to console myself with, there are just a minority of people who have weird opinions. And that's one of the... Daniel Sturridge, yes, Daniel Sturridge has the ability to craft himself a quarter of an inch of space.
It was not a game for Daniel Sturridge last night. It just wasn't.
Exactly that, yeah.
No, because you needed all 11 players involved in tackling back and winning the ball back and so on, and fighting. And I'm not having a go at Sturridge for that, because his game is not that game, is it?
I actually think, I've got to hear that, we could have won it. Again, the chance drops to Wijnaldum in injury time. And I think it's no surprise why Mourinho told everyone to slow it down when they had that free kick in the last minute of injury time, because he's thinking, I want to make this the last opportunity again. I don't, because if Liverpool go back up the other end again, there's a good chance they might score something. But it does make me wonder, and I don't think it was a change of personnel, but maybe a change in mentality, because it showed that we had the ability to take that game to them. Yeah. And we chose not to. Yeah. And part of that is their pressing, trying to get an equaliser, trying to get a winner, which will open the game up naturally. But I did feel that my only criticism is that we showed that we had the ability to do it. Maybe we could have spun and gone a little bit more.
Look, we could have, but there's an ebb and flow to football games, isn't there? And what we were really good at last night was defending as a team. And when you start to sort of overcommit going forwards and stuff, do you lose that defensive stability, which that result was born out of more than anything. And so, we of course we could have, and we maybe would have won the game, but just as likely was we got caught on the counter and we lose the game. So for me, that result hurts them more than it does us.
The way they scored in the end, though, it was sort of...
Well, it was offside.
You know what I mean?
It was offside.
It's one of those things. It was a bit of bad luck for us, really. I think the way they scored. And
I said that happens. It can only be Zlatan. It misses Mignolet's hand. He's so close to saving it. Alexander Arnold's so close to be kicking it off the line. It's the post and bounces back. It's one of those that there's no legislating for that kind of thing. Is that it's it is what it is, I guess. Third in the league, then. Again, I think Klopp kind of said, we are in the area of the table that we want to be in, and I'm in no mood to start being one of these uber pessimists over where the season's going. I think Liverpool have shown that we are where we deserve to be in the table, and that should not be treated as something that's upsetting, that we're not top of the league, or that we're not closest to Chelsea. The fact that we are up there, we're right up there. Spurs, who are in incredible form right now, you know, with this goal difference between us and them. It'd be interesting to see what happens when, you know, we can come out of this little sticky patch that we've been in, and if we're able to kick on what we can achieve.
Tottenham got United next. Is that their next game?
I'm not sure.
I think they've got City now.
Is it City they've got next? Look, Tottenham are in fantastic form. And I saw something on Twitter last night that made me fucking shit myself about Tottenham Hotspur. And I've not verified that this is the case, but it was that they've conceded 5 open play goals all season. 5. Wow. That's incredible, and that's just how good that team is. And whether that stat's 100% correct or not, I know Tottenham are a good defensive football inside.
Yeah, let's
and
hope.
They've got Harry Kane scoring fucking hat-tricks now as well.
They had a bad patch yet, though. I mean, I think every team has a bad patch, doesn't it, in the season? I think we're going through it. Yeah. Well, I hope this
Spurs have kind of had ones of
the beginning, wasn't it?
And they've had one. You know, they had that little spell without Harry Kane, didn't they?
Man City have conceded the title I heard on the radio this morning. I don't know.
Good on them.
Yeah, they're out of the title.
Cheers for giving everyone else a chance, Pep.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just them trolling Man United. Well, you know, if we're out of here, what the fuck are you doing? I love that. I like the idea of them scrapping it out.
Yeah, we're still in the Europa League playoff places, because there's no saying. I mean, United, there is quite a gap, isn't there, between United and Everton? But when you look at the table, the top 6 is quite separate from the rest. But I still think we are, I don't know, to me, at the start of the season, if you'd have said to me we'd be 3rd by now, I'd have been pretty pleased with that. I think even in August, there was a quote from Milner that I found recently that where he's talking about was, being able to push on and maybe get into the Champions League places. You forget that, we were 8th last season. We've apart from that one season where we got 2nd for years, we just seem to always be struggling to get into the top 4.
It's one of them.
It feels like we are now a top 4 side.
I think we've got, it's daft, but we've got to just get through. We've got to survive January in the best possible way, and see where we stand with regards to the League Cup, and where we stand in regards to the league. Chelsea at the end of the month is one of those that if we're in a position where we could close the gap, if we can win until then, and Swansea haven't we before, I think it was the league game before then, if we close that to 4, and then we were looking at the fixtures, Liverpool's is like tough fixture, winnable fixture, alternating throughout the next, throughout March, February and March, basically. It's one of those, isn't it? Football's mad. As long as we just keep doing what we're doing and we keep playing them, once European football returns mid-February, I think provided we are in contention, if we can stay in the top 4 at the time when European football comes back, I think we are going to be in very, very good shape for the rest of the season, because it's no surprise that all these other teams have all started playing good football and started winning games without the distraction of European football at the same time. So it could be a very, very exciting season regardless. So not too downbeat. But yeah, I'm feeling kind of okay about all of that weird. I should be more disappointed, I think, because to be in a winning position and not take all 3 points is obviously something that's disappointing. But again, I take half from the character.
It's the bigger picture, isn't it? That one game, you're disappointed you didn't come out with the 3 points after leading so long. But you know what? You think about the bigger picture, where does that stand us in terms of all these battles we've had with them down the years? To me, we were easily they were the underdogs. I really think they were the underdogs in that game, and that's a big thing. We shouldn't underestimate.
And this is a Manchester United side who'd won 9 on the bounce with the underdogs.
Yeah.
Shows how far we've come, really, doesn't
that's it. And again, people like that. I've seen some of them saying about how we defended and blah blah blah. Again, there's a difference between how we approached that game and how they approached the Anfield game, where they offered no attacking threat whatsoever, and we did more than enough. We had more shots on target, forced more corners in that game. A game that we could easily have won, could easily have lost. It's the way these games go sometimes. But again, for who we are and how our team's been assembled and where this side's come from in such a short space of time, I think there's so much heart and so much encouragement to be taken from Liverpool that I cannot wait for more Redmen and Redmen TV in the coming weeks. We're going to be doing a Plymouth Uncensored match build-up show shortly, which will be out for everyone to watch. This has been Redmen TV Freeview Week. This is the final word show. We do this after every single Liverpool game.
I just wish it would have been a win for everyone.
I know. But I hope everyone's enjoyed it regardless. We've tried our best to make it funny. It's always funny trolling Man United fans, isn't it?
Yeah, they won't have got this far.
No.
If they did, maybe they knew that we were fishing. And do you know what? They still bet.
Fair play to you for watching, Man United fans. If you stuck all the way through this, you've got more bottle than your manager.
One final dick.
Thanks for watching. Yeah, if you like what we've done on Redmen TV Freeview Week, you can watch this stuff every single week. 3 exclusive shows like this kind of format and more on the redmentv.com. It's completely free for the first month. If you want to watch a month of this for nothing, go over there now, sign up, and then it's just £2 a month thereafter. Hope you like it, hope you enjoy it, and hope you feel like contributing to continue to have more great Redmen TV content for you for the rest of eternity.
I was wondering how you looked at me and I thought he's lost it here, and then the eternity line comes out.
Okay, yeah, Chris, thank you.
I'm here for eternity apparently.
Jim, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and ta-ra.